Sadvaitam Sadvaitam Bhaktam Satam Krishna Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakam Hey Krishna Karuna Snudina Bhamajat Pati Gopesha Gopakam Tadam Tapta Kanshna Gaungangi Krishna Sitadevi Padma Panka Kalta Vishanki Pasna Krisha Patnam Bhavan Pasna I Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivana Sandi Bhaktavanam Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Namo Vishnu Krishna Vishnu Shrimati Bhakti Swami Namo Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurapani Pachayani Nirvishesha Srimad Bhakti That's Srila Prabhupada ki. Today we will start with a new chapter, chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga. This chapter explains the purpose of Ashtanga Yoga, which purpose is to focus the mind on the super soul in meditation, dhyana. So we have heard before about Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga. That's Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga. And now we will hear about the yoga dosas. All these yoga systems are stepping stones of coming to Krishna consciousness. But we take these stepping stones automatically when we practice bhakti. We don't have to practice this yoga system. It's included. But these yoga systems are there for those who are not properly situated in Sambandha Bhajan. They don't accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they cannot develop a relationship with Krishna yet, which is required for Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, there are these preliminary yoga systems which prepare them, and hopefully one time they will come to the conclusion, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is a person. But nevertheless, all these yoga systems, because Bhakti Yoga goes also to these stages, it contains very valuable elements which are helping us to practice Bhakti Yoga better. And therefore it's also important for us that so Krishna will here describe this Ashtanga Yoga, which is in the process from to dhyan, to dhyan, meditation. Meditation on what? On the super soul. But they meditate on the super soul, but then they have to go step further. They have to become the greatest yogi And the greatest yogi is described in the last verse. Yoginam apasaranam madhyam atmanam shadra shadra apachatoyamam samya yuktatamam. The greatest yogi is the yogi who is united in love with Krishna in the heart. That's the highest yogi. So then that means the yogi must, when he realizes that Paramatma controls material nature, he has to come to the realization or ask the question, what is this Paramatma? This Paramatma is an expansion of Krishna. And then they will come, and Krishna is the source of everything, and then they will come to this Sambandha Jnana, and they can perform Bhakti. Then they become qualified for Bhakti after many lifetimes. But mostly they don't. They are deviated because they are interested in mystic powers. That's a big problem if they have interest. But yeah, we will see here. Krishna will tell in the beginning that one must work to purify himself. Follow rules and regulations to purify ourselves. If the mind is impure, you cannot meditate. So in the beginning we chant Hare Krishna, but the mind is busy with something else, not with Krishna. That's because our heart is impure. So Krishna will focus in this sixth chapter and tell us that yogi can only be done if you control your mind. So if you can control your mind, you are not your mind, right? If you think you are the mind, you cannot control it. So most people think in this world they are the mind, so it's no question of control. They are controlled by them. So the first realization is I'm not this mind. I can control my mind with my intelligence, with determined intelligence. So in the first verses, first four verses, Krishna speaks about preliminary basic principles for practicing yoga. So we will start with verse 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hey Bhagavan Uvacha Nasita Gana Palam Kai Sanyasi Sayogicha Nanirakne Nasankaya. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is a true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So many times impersonalists, they think they are liberated and they stop all their duties. But actually, they are self-interest. Because the jnanis, what do they want? They want to become one with Brahman. And they think Brahman is God. But it is only a partial manifestation of God. They are going to become one with Brahman, so they want to become God. In other words, that's quite a material desire. Can you have a bigger material desire? That yeah. And the yogis, the same problem. Most of them want mystic powers. That's also material purpose. But real sannyas, Krishna says, is that you, he will say in the next verse, is engaging the mind and sense in Krishna's service. Real sannyas and real yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness with the understanding of the last verse of previous chapter. Bhaktam Sagatapsam Savalok Marsham Sridam Savabhutam, something which, yeah. So means Bhaktam Sagatapsam. Krishna is enjoyer of everything because Savalok Marsham is the proprietor. And Krishna is my well-wishing friend in my heart. But unless we realize that there's no question of real renunciation. Real sannyasa and real yoga means working Krishna consciousness with that understanding. Everything belongs to Krishna. And therefore, it's for his enjoyment. Materialistic people will say, okay, you work for Krishna, that's he enjoys everything, and you are a slave, you are suffering. But the point is that if we serve Krishna with devotion, we are linked up with the cause of all bliss, and we become full of bliss. That because Krishna is Ananda, we are also Ananda, but we are only Ananda when we are linked up with Krishna, because we are very minute. And now we are linked up with the material energy. We push the wrong buttons, linked up, and that's the problem. That Prabhupada writes, yes. In this chapter, the Lord explains the process of eightfold yoga system, and that is a system to control the mind and senses. But Prabhupada says, in the age of Kali, nobody can do that. Maybe a few people in the Himalayas, but otherwise no one can do that process. So there are no yogis on this earth, maybe a few that who can really do that. It's not in Satya Yoga that was easy. Because the process was meditation, and there was prevalent mode of goodness. No one was pushing the green or the red button. Then, of course, we have an atmosphere of peace and easy to meditate. But Kali Yoga is full of disturbances. In the age of Kali, very difficult Prabhupada. Although the eightfold yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasized that the process of karma yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. That's better, Krishna says. And that is what he's saying here in the beginning, in this first verse. That it's better to walk, not attached to the fruits, give the fruits to Krishna. Then you are a real sannyas, not one who does not work and becomes a yogi trying to meditate, because the yogis are mostly selfishly motivated. Prahlad Maharaj says that in the seventh canto. He said, there are these yogis in the Himalayas, he said, and they are only concerned with their own self-realization, but not with others. That's a problem. So, yes. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living being, because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme Soul. That is our constitutional position, our Dharma. We are servant of Krishna. Dharma means what you cannot change. We are servant. Unless we are connected with Krishna, we'll never be satisfied. It's not possible. So these yogis and these jnanis, they are self-interested because they want to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such desire is greater than any material desire. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. We have that verse in the fourth canto that says, if one pours water on the roots of the plant, the leaves, the branches, everything is nourished. If one gives food to the stomach, then all the limbs, hands, head, everything benefits from that and gets energy. So if we serve Krishna, because we are part and parcel, then the whole is satisfied. We become also satisfied. That's the principle. Text 2. Yam sanyasamiti pramo kantam pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kashana. What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga, of linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Bantam, one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So the linking process is devotional service. Devotional service means we renounce sense gratification because we act for the sense for the gratification of the senses of Krishna, Rishikena. So then we are completely renounced. That's real renunciation, linking. But that can only be attained if we link with Krishna in devotional service. Sannyas and yoga are therefore non-different. Because yoga means giving up your fruitive desire. I'm going to act for the desire of Krishna, fulfill his desire, follow his desire, follow his dictation. Srila Prabhupada said many times, Krishna consciousness is the following of the dictation of the super soul within. So we cooperate. That in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, there Srila Prabhupada calls the jiva, the soul, the cooperator. We are the cooperator with Krishna. We are in non-cooperation, we are in material line. So Krishna person is simultaneously a sannyasi because he's renounced, And the yogi, because he controls his mind, because he engages himself in the service of Krishna. That's the essence here. The real sannyasa bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position of the living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. Is the marginal energy of the Supreme. Take note here, Srila Prabhupada speaks not about Astanga Yoga, he's speaking about Bhakti Yoga and how it applies to Bhakti Yoga, because it's a stage of coming to Bhakti Yoga. And we are also going to this stage. Therefore, this knowledge is also applicable in devotional service, which is the big process. And therefore, Prabhupada points out what is useful for us in Bhakti. That when one is entrapped by the material energy, is conditioned, and when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then is in his real natural state. Therefore, when one in complete knowledge, one ceases material sense gratification and renounces all kinds of sensory gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain senses from material attachment. But a person with Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. Sannyasi is renounced, gives the fruits to Krishna. The yogi, he controls his senses, so they are engaged in Krishna's service. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, the dhyan and yoga are of no avail. So that points out, if you want to perform jnana yoga or Astanga yoga, the serious yoga schools, which are practically not existing, but then you have to join the ashram. You cannot be married, no married life. You must be celibate, and you join and study, you become a redemption. So these are preliminary conditions to become a jnani or a yogi, but that's not there for Bhakti. For Bhakti, that's not necessary. You can become immediately qualified. So that's, yeah. So therefore, if one is unable to give up activities of selfish nature, the jnana and yoga are of no avail. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction. What Prabhupada is saying here is these yogis and these jnanis, they are still selfish. The yogis want liberation, and the jnanis and the yogis want liberation. They want to merge with Brahman. Of the yogis want mystic power. So one who has no, because they have no information of Krishna. They have no information of devotional service, of their relationship with Krishna. Then whatever you do, if you are not situated in that relationship, you are selfish. That's what Prabhupada is saying. So then, text 3. Arupso mune yogam karma kana mukshate yoga udasita sheva samakanam utsate. You have two words here. Arupso is the beginning of the process of yoga. And yoga ruda is the perfection, the samadhi. So what is said here? Translation. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said the means. So in the beginning, you must work to purify your heart. And if your heart is pure, then you can give up your prescribed duties and engage fully in the service of Krishna, and you can do other service. So that's the ladder of yoga. That's Prabhupada said. The complete ladder of yoga may be divided in 3 parts. That's the complete ladder of all yogas. The first part is jnana yoga. The second is dhyana yoga or Ashtanga yoga. And the third is bhakti. The Prabhupada uses different terms, and we may be confused. Prabhupada speaks about Buddha yoga also. Buddha yoga is the same as bhakti yoga. Buddhi means you are using your intelligence to understand who Krishna is, who we are, and engage in that relationship. That's the real Buddha yoga. Yeah.
Why karma yoga is not included
in the ladder? Yeah. Yeah. It starts with knowledge. If there is no knowledge, then there can be no question of connection. And then with the knowledge of the jnana yogi is the knowledge of Brahman. That the knowledge of the Ashtanga yoga is the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. But the karma yoga has no knowledge. So you cannot link up. Vedanta tattvatas tattvam jnanam advayam prameti paramatmeti paramaniti saprite. To learn transcendentalists have concluded that the absolute truth has 3 phases, 3 aspects, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. They are all the absolute truth. But the qualities of the absolute truth are only fully realized in the Bhagavan feature, the Satchitananda. In the Paramatma feature, you only realize Sat and Chit a bit, not complete. Because complete knowledge is Krishna. In the Brahman realization, you only realize I'm eternal. You don't know who you are. But it's all the absolute truth. But then Bhagavan has his energies, Jiva Goswami said. Material and spiritual energies. Comes from Bhagavan. And that's where the impersonalists fail. They cannot explain the origin of the energies. That's a problem. But we can. That's a fallacy of impersonalists. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium, control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation, because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna is considered to have ceased all material activity. The meditation is always included in bhakti. That's yeah, devotional service, okay, external, but the devotional links us up in thinking always. You cannot develop love for someone and not think of him, but that's not possible. Yeah. So now the highest platform, this platform of Yoga Ruda, is explained in the 4th verse. Yadainandiyartesu nakamas anjayate sarvasankalpa sannyasi yoga dastatocate. A person is said to be elevated in yoga, having renounced all material desires. He neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitful activity. So he is elevated because he has renounced material desires. But without Krishna consciousness, one must always seeking self-centered or extended selfish activities. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. Now, we have a few slides. We have the next. Yeah. Next verse, 5 to 9, speak about the mind and yoga. Without controlling your mind, yoga is a farce. That's also in Krishna consciousness. If we do our sadhana and we think of something else, we are not performing yoga. We are not linked up. We are linked up when our heart is with Krishna, when our mind is with Krishna. That's and therefore, to fix our mind to on Krishna, we need the help of the mind. We need to use the mind for that. And these are two important verses here. Udayat atmanatmanam atman avasadyat yatmeva yatmanabandhu atmeva ekur atmanam. Bandhu atmatmas tata tasya yanatma patmana chitha anatmas satvit pepakta tatma gasatvat. So one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. For him who has conquered the mind is the best friend. For one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So all our suffering in this world is due to the uncontrolled mind. Do we that? Are we conscious of that? Are we aware of that? Krishna explains here that the purpose of yoga system is to control the mind and draw it away from the attachment to the senses. It is stressed that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nations. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false evil and with desires to lord it over material nature. One should not degrade oneself by the attraction of sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in the material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna's service. So this is so yoga practice means controlling the mind and detach ourselves from sense gratification. So, and this is easily done if we engage the mind in Krishna's service. So the message here is you must always engage the mind in Krishna's service. If you are not engaging the mind in Krishna's service, the mind will engage you in the business of Maya, illusory energy. There's nothing between. And that is, so we must train the mind to think of Krishna and to make it our friend. If we follow the mind, then the mind will degrade us. We will suffer a lot. Not and yes. the Yoga Ropes and the Yoga Ruda practice. At the end of chapter 5 and continuing in chapter 6, Krishna explained Dhyana Yoga, concluding that it is the goal of meditation. Even in Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Yoga is necessary in the beginning stages. When one becomes accomplished in the practice of meditation, it ceases all disturbing mental activities and ceases. It comes to the stage of Yoga Ruda. Based in the Ashtanga Yoga, it's a long process. Yam, Niyam, that Ashan, sitting postures. Yam, Niyam means following rules and regulations. We are following also rules and regulations, the four regulated principles, things to do and things not to do. Things not to do are the four regulated principles. Things to do is chanting, hearing about Krishna, hearing the Bhagavatam, serving the deity. So we have that also, Yam, Niyam. And then you have Asham, sitting postures, that are also good for us. You hear that tape where Prabhupada is chanting japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Ram, Ram, Rama, Hare. Sit properly. Sit, Prabhupada, sit properly. The Asham, important that we sit properly, otherwise we fall asleep. That, and then after that, the yogis do pranayama, breathing exercises, and then pratyahara, that all the sense objects out and going inside. That, and then dharam is the beginning of meditation. And then they start to come to dhyana, meditation, samadhi. These are the stages. And in samadhi, that's yoga ruda, and in the beginning, it is aruda. Yes.
What do the jnanis and the yogis do? What is their practical activity? I have never understood.
The jnanis, they renounce, they give up, they go to an ashram, and they study Vedanta the whole day. Vedanta. No, Vedanta, to understand the difference between matter and spirit, and they live renounced, they beg for their living, that and eat very little, very austere, to control the senses. It's a very difficult process.
And why do they do that? They know it's so difficult.
That they think that is the process to get liberation. That they want liberation to merge in Brahman. They think they will become God. That's why they do it. And they think, yeah, if I can give up sense gratification, then I come to the level of being completely peaceful, blissful, when I'm completely detached. They think they will attain bliss like that.
But if they give up matter, they have to stop eating, drinking, everything. How can they survive?
They minimize. They cannot stop. They minimize. That these are the jnanis, but many jnanis become then yogis later. That and the yogis, their process is described here. The eightfold yoga system, all these stages, and we will go to them now. But before 9 o'clock, we should go through all these stages so that you will understand what their practice is. But mostly their motivation is not pure. They want mystic powers. to control others finally. Or they want to merge with Brahman, the same as the Jnanis. Yes. So these are very troublesome practices. Still, many are practicing it in India. The followers of Shankaracharya. Yeah. But then they practice it, but it's not really satisfying. They come to a level of inner satisfaction, that's true, because their tendency of sanctification comes mostly ruled out and they become peaceful. But then they engage mostly in welfare work. That's what they start doing. And you see that many impersonalists, farmers, they come back, they go into politics or something. Anyway, that good, it doesn't make sense. That's the point. So, Krishna says, one should deliver the soul by the mind, not degrade it. The mind is the friend of the soul and its enemy as well. So, this is Baldev Vidyabhush. One should not submerge the Atma in samsara by the mind, attached to some sense objects. So we are going through the cycle of samsara, cycle of birth, death, old age, disease, because we are attached to sense gratification. We have the desire to enjoy. Material desires keeps us in this material world. And Baldev Vidyabhushan said, Krishna advises here not to do that. That one must control the mind. So otherwise, one is entangled. The pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false evil. Means we think we are this body, which desires to lord it over material nature. Yeah, the body must lord over material desire and material nature, because it's a law that one living entity lives at the cost of another in this material world. Plants are living entities, and it's our food. So they have to die to give us strength. That yeah. So we become entangled in the whole thing. Because even if you kill plants, you get reactions. So the best way to disentangle oneself is to engage the mind in Krishna's service. Reflections. During 24 hours a day, how much time is my mind involved with false evil and forcing me to act following my attachment to sense objects in this world? That's a problem. 6. The mind. Yeah. Bandhuratmatmanas tasyayanatmanasatmananchitanatmastu satke bhaktatma sattva. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. So, if your mind is uncontrolled, you are living with the worst enemy you can have. So, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, you are mighty armed, that very strong fighter. But if you want to be a real hero, you have to control your mind. That's the real hero. That is. Yes. As long as the mind remains an unconquered enemy, one is to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion. You become a servant of the mind. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of God that is situated within the heart as Paramatma. So Krishna Prabhupada says it again. Krishna consciousness is following the dictation of the Super Soul. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. So, an uncontrolled mind, in summary, is the worst enemy because it forces one to follow the dictations of lust, anger, greed, and so on. But it's our duty to follow the dictations of Krishna, not the dictation of lust, anger, and greed. But if the mind voluntarily follows the instructions of Paramatma or Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and becomes your best friend, then you become completely peaceful, satisfied. And we will hear in the next verse what happens then. The mind, an unconquered enemy. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictates of lust and others' delusion. Verse, yeah. Real yoga entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then follow his dictation. How to meet, that we will hear in the next verse. This is Raghunadas Goswami's Simana Siksha, verse 4. Raghunadas Goswami's Simana Siksha was very renounced Raghunadas Goswami. And he prays to the mind, a prayer to the mind. So one devotee, she came to Krishna consciousness nearly more than 30 years ago. And the first book that she got was Simana Siksha from Raghunadas Goswami, and said, I found it very strange that a prayer to the mind, are we not a mind? That was her first reaction. Yeah. So my dear mind, you must categorically relinquish all frivolous and mundane talk, which is like a prostitute who steals all your intelligence and resolve. So in the beginning, when Raghunadas was with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, because he had still some money from before he was inviting Lord Chaitanya for lunch sometimes, but then he said, I should renounce all this, I should not use that money. And he stopped cooking and he started begging at the entrance of the Jagannath, on the temple of Jagannath Puri. And the devotees, Lord Chaitanya was asking the devotee that I don't, the Raghunath is not inviting anymore, what's going on? And they told him, oh, he announced all this cooking. It's now at the entrance of the Jagannath Puri temple, begging. And Lord Chaitanya was very happy. But then Raghunadas Goswami was begging, and then he stopped doing that. And Lord Chaitanya asked the devotee, but why is he not begging anymore? Well, he said, when I was at the entrance of the Jagannath Puri temple, Raghunadas said, all the pilgrims come outside and the mind is speculating, maybe this will give, or maybe this person will give, or that. So the mind becomes like a prostitute, he said. And so I stopped this. So that's what he's saying here. My dear mind, you must categorically relinquish all frivolous and mundane talk, which is like a prostitute who steals all your intelligence and resolve. So instead, he was in Jagannath Puri. They are cooking how many offerings a day? And they have big kitchens, and then they throw out some rejected rice. And he was collecting that and pulling out the bad things and that was still good. He was eating. And then when Lord Chaitanya heard that, he was very happy to hear that, and he went to see Raghunadas Goswami and said, I heard you are keeping this nectar food here. And Raghunath said, don't eat that's rejected rice. When Lord Chaitanya with force took some of this rice and ate it. Anyway, that's the story of Raghunadas Goswami. That his mind is like a prostitute. That my dear mind, in this material life, you are attacked by lust, which is like a gang of thugs that waylay innocent pilgrims, strangling you with strong, terrible ropes in the form of distress, pain, and futile endeavors. So, I'm a servant of my own lust, anger, and greed. Or do I follow the instructions of the spiritual master, Lord Krishna? It's up to us. Now 7. 7 points directly to the real purpose of yoga. So the real purpose of yoga is not mystic powers. It's not merging with Brahman as impersonal in these things. Krishna mentioned here the real purpose of yoga. Chitatma prasantasya paramatma smaita sitoshna sukadukeshu tatamana pamaniga. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, who has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So if we can make our heart completely peaceful. Peaceful means no material desires. No material desires. Completely peaceful. Then you will feel Krishna in your heart. Then the covering is away. So the Ashtanga Yoga process aims to remove that covering by a mechanistic process of breathing exercises and so on. That the effect of calling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictations of the super soul. If one is fixed on the super soul in the heart, it becomes samadhi. Samadhi. It said the effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictations of Paramatma or super soul. Because the transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is Krishna conscious. The devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress, happiness, cold, and heat. So it's this duality, this attachment and aversion in the heart, which makes that we cannot see Krishna. Attachment and aversion is caused by material desires. Yeah? You desire something, and you are against what's going to obstruct that desire, averse. And you like very much if it's fulfilled. And then the mind is becoming mad, just inventing so many things, and misuses the intelligence to make plans to fulfill that desires. And the whole system is very, very busy in the mode of passion. And you forget yourself. You forget your relationship with Krishna. That you are absorbed in things of this world. But if the heart is pure, this practical samadhi comes. And yeah. So text 7. Let's see here. Yeah. Yoga unity satatam atmanam rahasistita. No, that's not this one. Jnana vijnana tiptatma kutastha vichitannaya. Yoga yukta ityuchate yogi samalastas makanshi. A person is said to be established in self-realization, I think, is called a yogi when he's fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Srila Prabhupada has book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. Further, only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord, are the transcendental name, form, quality, and the pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. That's when we see Krishna in the heart and his pastimes, we become very satisfied. This from Bhakti Rasamrita, Sin and Nectar Devotion. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. The Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna, because he's satisfied with pure devotion service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. This realized knowledge is that one gives up all material desires, no interest anymore. One becomes peaceful and relishes, start to relish hearing about Krishna, meditating on Krishna. Machita prana bodhyam spaspam katyam samamatyam tushanti saramantisha. Tushanti, very satisfied, saramantisha, relishing, hearing about Krishna. We can also attain that by absorbing in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, it's satisfying. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. And I realized myself, I went to all this academic study. They gave me a title of doctor and so on, but no interest. I finished my PhD and no interest anymore in all these scholars, only in the Bible. It's so useless. It's just losing one's time. That is what it is. It doesn't satisfy you. It's the opposite. Satisfied by virtue or knowledge by virtue of knowledge and realization. Person is said to be established in self-realization is called a yogi, a mystic, when he's fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled, whether it be pebble, stone, or gold, as I say. So pebble, stone, or gold is matter. 6-9. That Sarinitra Udashina Madhyastad Vesha Bandhuzu Sadhu Sapavesu Samabhutir Sishtati. A person is still considered further advanced when he regards well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with equal mind. So why is that? It says dirt and gold are the same. There was one person, he went to Sanatana Goswami. And he said to Sanatana Goswami, I heard you have a touchstone. A touchstone, if you touch some metal, it becomes gold. So he was interested. And Sanatana Goswami said, yes, you can have it. It's on the garbage pile. So he went to take it and he was satisfied for some time. But then the man came back some time later. And he asked Sanatana Goswami, why did you keep it at the garbage? You must have something better. And Sanatana Goswami said, yes, I can give you something better. But first, you have to throw this touchstone in the river. The man threw it and went back. And then Sanatana Goswami said, initiated them in the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. You chant just this mantra and it purifies you from so many reactions in the past lives, so powerful. That gold will only further entangle in this world. You become attached to it. That you become equal to everything what has to be heard, we heard before in the second chapter. No interest in hearing things on this world. The news, people hate the news and become depressed. but what's the use? What can you do about it? Nothing. Krishna is in control. And soon we are out of here. So we are going to leave the room. Are you concerned much what's going to happen in the room? Get out of it. So we want to get out of this material world. All this is always entangling one. One can have all titles and so on, that and get all fame and so-called material happiness his whole life, and then he dies. And the other one is miserable all his life, and then what does he get? He dies. So what's the same? They get the same thing. But between is temporary. It's all gone. So the devotee is not interested in these things. And now we will hear the practice of yoga, all the stages, till the end of the chapter practice. Well, till the middle of the chapter. And I will first read you all the stages that okay. Text 10. First, take here. 9. Okay. A transcendentalist should engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. So you have to go to the forest or the Himalayas, first thing. Sucha desha patista pyastirma samatmana natruchitam natinicham Sanlajina kusutram tatraikaikam mahakritva yatasitandayakaya upavishyasane yunya yogam atma visudaya. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and lay kusa grass on the ground and cover it with a deer skin and soft cloth. Why deer skin? It keeps away the serpents. This seat should be neither too high nor too low. One should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart, controlling his mind, senses, and activities, fixing the mind on one point. Samankarosya krivan darayan achalamsya. Sampreksya naskrakam svam. Disasana valokayam. Vasantatma vigatabir vamacharvatestita. Mansamyamya matsito yukta shitamatpa. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare on the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated and subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Thus, practicing constant control of body-mind activities, the mystic transcendentalist is mind-regulated, attains to the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. There is no possibility of one becoming a yogi, Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. He who is regulating his habits, eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by the practice of the yoga system. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, is said to be well established in yoga. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental, on the transcendent self. Then here, this is the stage of perfection. In the stage of perfection, called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by the practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized to transcendental senses, established thus, whenever departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, it thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This is indeed actual freedom from all miseries, from material contact. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed by the self alone and should think of nothing else. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under to the control of the self. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me fairly attain the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the modes of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus is freed from all reactions to past deeds. So Krishna describes that entire process from verse 10 till 27. And what will be the reply of Arjuna? He will say, that's nothing for me. I cannot do that. Controlling the mind is obstinate. It's very difficult to control. It's like controlling the wind. Can someone go outside and say, and when there is wind, they say, stop? No. But Krishna will say, yes, you can do it, Arjuna, with practice and detachment. And then after that, Arjuna will ask, but he's still doubtful that process, and he says, yes, that if such a yogi if it does not achieve this perfection, because that looks very unlikely to achieve, what is his destination? And then Krishna will explain the destination of the yogi who fails. First, one who has a short practice, and then one who has a long practice. After explaining that, he will point out what's the highest yogi. Yoginama ape sarvasanathlangatman vachte yama samyuktatam. So this is what's happening in this chapter. It's good to know what's happening one after another. And so in the beginning, Krishna speaks about the beginning of the process and the Yoga Ruda, the perfection. It speaks about the mind. The mind can liberate yourself or uplift yourself. The mind should be your friend, not your enemy. With your friend, you will be able to control it, and then in the perfection, you will find the super soul in your heart, and then you will feel very satisfied by the knowledge and the realization you get from that contact with the super soul by following the dictation of the super soul. And then he describes the yoga process, and Arjuna said, no, it's nothing for me. And then Krishna says, yes, you can do it without the detachment or with practice. And then Arjuna is asked about the yogi who fails, and Krishna explains the failing of the yogi with a short practice and with a long practice. He will then say the yogi never perishes. It never fails. Because in the next slide, it continues process. It becomes attracted again to the yoga process, and it continues life after life. And then the highest yogi is the yogi who is united with the super soul in love. So that's the whole thing. Now we are in the section here that describes the yoga process. We went through all the verses. We go again through them. So having described the stages of Ashtanga yoga, Krishna next explains the practice of those stages. By practicing yoga with determination, controlling the mind and fixing the mind on the super soul, one attains a stage of perfection called samadhi, wherein one enjoys unlimited bliss. So that's a summary. So now, then I read the verse again. A transcendentalist should engage his body, mind, and soul in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. It should be free from desires of feelings of possessiveness. So a yogi accepts favorable conditions for meditation. Like he must live alone in a secluded place, must be free from possessiveness. But a devotee attains that state to yukta vairagya, using everything in the service of Krishna. And therefore is also a perfect yogi. So do not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle one's feelings of possessiveness. So that we will learn that in Nectar of Instruction. What is on paper? Atyara payasya prajalpanya niyamaka, that Sangha Salolyansa, Sangatyaras Salolyansa, Bhaktis Vinashati. These are 6 principles that destroy Bhakti. I miss a few words, but atyahara means, more eating than is necessary. Krishna explains that here also. One should not eat more than necessary, also not less. Be balanced in your eating. Atyahara. And prayas. Prayas means over-endeavoring for things that are difficult to obtain. Like you have a job, you work, you get $4,000 a month, and you decide to buy a house, and the monthly mortgage for the house is $3,750. Is that a good thing to do? No, you get in trouble. Don't do these things. That we remain within what's reasonable. Don't become a slave of the bank. That it's very attractive. Oh, my credit card I can spend, but you spend, you have to repay it. Be careful. That's not to entangle us unnecessary. That the Krishna conscious person is always alone and have nothing to do with persons, not in Krishna consciousness. So it means we are, because that's the main point, he should live alone in a secluded place. We are alone in the sense we don't want to associate with materialistic people. That Sangatyaga, we disassociate ourselves from materialistic people. Sangatyaga Sadalansha. Those who are greedy, we don't associate with them, certainly. That so we should live alone in that sense. That nothing to do with persons, no. We associate with devotees. So these are 8 limbs from the Yoga Sutra. Yam, restraint, niyam, observance. So we do that also. Yam means we follow 4 related principles. Niyam, observance. We have a sadhana that we chant, that asana, physical posture, pranayam, regulation of breath. We don't do these things. You can do these things for your health, for focusing your mind before chanting maybe. Pratyahara, sense withdrawal. That's very difficult for these yogis to go inside. They have to stare to the tip of their nose. They cannot close their eyes, then they fall asleep. If they open their eyes, they cannot concentrate, so they have to half close, half open. They steer to the tip of the nose. That good luck. That try to go inside. Because they don't believe in the super soul or whatever. They focus their mind on one point. Okay. That Zen meditation, they do that also, one point. That some Buddhists, they focus on the clapping of one hand. Anyway, don't. It's very difficult. And then once they come to the point of controlling their minds and withdrawing from sense objects, then they start to meditate, dhyan, meditation. And the bona fide yogis, they meditate on the super soul. And they come in samadhi, but that's rarely achieved. That's mostly a process of many lifetimes. Many lifetimes. That so we are not going into that. So, having described the stages of Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna next explained the practice of those stages. By practicing yoga with determination, controlling the mind and fixing the mind on the supersoul, one attains the states of perfection called samadhi, wherein one enjoys unlimited pleasure. So now the purification of the internal organ. 11:12. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay pusa grass on the ground and cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. So the deer skin is to keep the serpents away, because otherwise you are always fearful. You try to meditate, you are fearful, is a serpent coming? So then that makes you unqualified also. The seat would be neither too high nor too low. One should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi in a sacred place. There are many ashrams of yogis. We hear that also in the Ramayana, when Lord Ram goes to the forest, many sages are there, yogis. The yogis should then sit on it very firmly and practice yogi to purify the heart by controlling the mind, senses, and activities, fixing the mind on one point. So Baladev Vidyabhushan says, establishing his own solid asana in a clean place, not too high or not too low, he should prepare a sitting place by spreading pushakas and then placing a deerskin cloth over it. Sitting on the asana, concentrating his mind on one point, and controlling the activities of the mind and senses, it should engage in yoga for purification of the internal organ, the internal organ, which is the mind. So one should go to a holy place, sacred, Shuddha in a sanctified land. So you see many yogis at the Kumbh Mela that so many people come there. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees, all leave home and reside in a sacred place such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Hardwar. And in solitude, practice yoga where the sacred rivers of the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. Reflections. The yogi engages in meditation for purification of the inner organ or consciousness, Atma, is Sudaye. Is freedom from disturbance, which makes the internal organ very subtle, is suitable for the direct realization of Brahman. Am I concerned with the cleanliness of my consciousness? What is my personal plan for purifying my consciousness from material attachment and entanglement? I would even say, do I really want that to purify my heart? Or do I don't think about it? Yeah, okay. So this is 12. So from this appears Ashtanga Yoga must follow severe restrictions. It must go to a holy place, perform asanas, so the modern yoga clubs, do they do that? No, they follow yoga without regulated principles. It's a farce. It's nothing to do with yoga. If you don't follow the four regulated principles and you do yoga, maybe good for your health, but maybe let's see that. So that kind of yoga will never give result. So all these restrictions are impossible to follow at the present time. So it's easier to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. It will also make the mind attached to Krishna. 13, 14. Let's read again. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line. Yeah, it's not easy. In yoga practice, you start with tadas, that you're standing just straight. Not easy. Because this tadas, standing straight in posture, that's unless you master this, all the other poses you do will be wrong. It's so important. So those with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me in the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So you must already be free from sex life to do that. Good luck. And devoid of all fear. So the yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. Yoga is meant to focus on this. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. So there are no yoga clubs in the West who instruct one. Oh, you are coming for yoga? Oh, you want to meditate on the Superstone? Good. They are not saying that. They don't know the goal of yoga. But Prabhupada writes here, it's to realize this Vishnu Murti in heart. The purpose of yoga is to discover Paramatma in one's heart. But in Jnana and Dhyan process, celibacy is mandatory. So if you want to go an ashram of the Jnana yogis or an ashram of the Ashtanga yogis, you must be celibate. If you are married, forget it. You cannot come here. You first renounce. That's the preliminary condition to practice this yoga. The Bhakti process, however, allows controlled householder life. Controlled householder life. Not a Shayamedi. Because Bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sex attraction by gaining a higher taste. But one must practice controlling the mind, avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is deep. This now time tackle. Harikabai Nitai Chandra Karuna Poibe Samsara Basana Mohakabe Tuchahabe. When will that day come? When Lord Nityananda's causeless mercy is bestowed upon me, so that my desire for material enjoyment becomes very insignificant. There's a prayer of Nautam Dastakun. Now, yoga, text 15. Thus practicing yoga, control of the mind and body, mind and activities, the mystic transcendentalist is mind regulated, attains the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. So Prabhupada writes, yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of material existence. The cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The kingdom of God is everywhere. So that's good news, we are in the kingdom of God. Bad news is we are in the prison section. So the kingdom of God is everywhere. But the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called paramdam, or superior abodes. A consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as it's clearly stated herein by the Lord himself, can attain real peace and ultimately reach his supreme abode, Krishna Loka, known as Goloka Vrindavan. No one can reach the spiritual sky or enter into the Lord's eternal abode without proper understanding of Krishna and his planetary expansions, Krishna. So you need some Bandharyan. You cannot enter the spiritual world if you don't know who Krishna is. Not possible. In other words, the perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence, and not some magical circularity or gymnastic feats to the full innocent people. So a consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding the Lord himself, Matsitamat Paramatstana, can attain real peace and ultimately reach the supreme abode known as Goloka Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Now about eating. That Nastasyatasthi Yogashtina Sikantam Nasnatas Nachita Nachantisva Vasilasya Jagatunaiva Simon. It's no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough. Two quotes, two parts, the purpose, few sentences. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best only to eat the remnants of footsteps offered by Krishna. So, Prabhupada says, eat what you need. What you need is what you can digest, not more. If you eat more, you will be diseased. You will feel tired, so many things. But, so it's good to learn to eat with our intelligence, not eating with your mind, with your likes and dislikes. Eat with your intelligence. Think, what does my body need to function properly? That's if one eats out of reach, you will become diseased. But this balance needs to be learned. That not too much, not too less, but also that's one thing. Eat what you can digest. Then Ayurveda says there are a number of tastes, and you must be balanced what you eat. That's so that's I've traveled with Bhakti many years, and he was the Minister of Health at that time. And he gave courses on Ayurveda. And we have all a constitution that Kapha, Vata, or Pitta. And according to that constitution, there are foods you can eat and are recommended, and foods we should avoid. That so it's a whole science. It is, but of course, Ayurveda is not really meant to cure the whole of disease we have today. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that will help you to balance that. I was happy to hear this because we went to many places, and every time he gave that seminar, every time I heard it, that And I have still all the slides and information on my computer. But that makes me understand how to live healthily. That's the point. That you want to say something?
I want to make a real comment.
Yeah.
It's a difference between the Ayurveda and the allopathy.
Yeah.
Is the one to understand. Recently, they have done research and they have found out something called as inflating mimetic. So when we eat, food goes into the stomach, and then it starts digestion. That's where inflating hormone, which is released, that goes to the brain stem, and tells it now you are full.
Yeah.
Satiety, you get satiety,
Yeah.
center in the brain. So it goes and tells those cells that now you are full. So what these guys did, they found out this is credit mimetic. So they inject, especially for obese and diabetic, to inject the 0.5 milligrams or 1 milligram or increasing dose once in a week. Right? And it mimetics that, mimics that hormone, and your appetite is controlled. You eat few more of them, you will feel. So previously, they were cutting on the stomach. Right? Then reducing the size of stomach. Now they are running chemical.
Chemicals.
So that's how the green
But Ayurveda, you learn very simple things like the digestion is like a cooker. The normally, not with that weather and not with me now, but normally at noontime the fire of digestion is the highest. So you must eat when the fire of the digestion is high. And Prabhupada was also, he wanted his meal at a certain time that the fire of digestion was high. Because when the time is over, so this thing is in the fire of digestion in the evening is not so high. So we should eat, especially at noontime, and a little in the morning, and very little in the evening. If you eat a big meal and then you are going to sleep, it doesn't make sense. You don't need energy to sleep, but energy will come out during your sleep. That's natural. So these things we have to learn. Controlling your senses. It means if you like to eat paneer, okay, eat a little. If you eat a lot, that's going to get problems. That it is in my ex-wife, she was studying at university criminology because she became a police officer. And there you have one branch, because I heard all the courses because she was repeating them about. And the toxicology, the science of toxins. And the basic rule is everything, every substance can become a toxin depending on the concentration. That's interesting. So if you eat too much proteins, you get problems in controlling your senses. It's not that before you're going to sleep, you drink a liter yogurt with a lot of honey. What's going to happen in the night? It's disaster. So we have to learn to balance these things. And that is for everyone different. Everyone different. We know Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev had another volume about Bhima, had another quantity than the others. So it's different for everyone. That you see on the picture, not eating too less, you become also very mental. You what is going on here. Difficult to control the mind. We need some grace, but not eating out of greed. So that's one should fill the stomach half with food, 1/4 with water, 1/4 for the movement of air. That's Bhakti. What is the result of extravagance in eating and sleeping? One who eats more than is required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must constantly sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. But also, I've seen many times devotees who are more kapha, they have a big body, and when they have to eat a lot and they struggle with controlling the sense. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. So we should, and then a friend for me said, because he was trained like that because they were meat eaters at home, and his parents told him, you have to eat a lot, you will not get strong, and 3 big meals every day, and he got a very big body and he got a strong man. But now he's 70, half of the time sick, very difficult. But mostly you don't live so long if you do such a thing in life. Anyway, that's the one who eats more than is required will dream very much while sleeping, and he constantly requires sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One should sleep more. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 20 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. So there's a correlation between eating too much and sleeping. And we have to be careful with that. So regulated eating, sleeping, recreation, and work. One who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by the practicing the yoga system. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasad, sanctified food. It's good to take prasad at regulated times. That sometimes I can tell you, as a sannyasi who travels from continent to continent, not easy, because you come like here in the evening. I'm going from Europe, so when I go to sleep in the evening, that's usually the time I get up. It becomes, then you have to sleep. But I know devotees, they go from America to India, like Santosh from New York told me. Once a year is going back to his village in India, and then he comes in India and during the day sleeps, and in the night he's awake. And his father comes down, why don't you sleep? What's wrong with you? But that can be. So regulating in eating and sleeping and recreation, that it's essential for yoga practice, and it's also essential for that the Krishna conscious person eats only prasadam and cannot bear to waste time in oversleeping because he enjoys serving Krishna. That's a healthy attitude. So eating can be regulated when one practice to take and accept prasad, sanctified food. The conscious person is always alert in the strive for his duties in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, any time spent in sleeping is considered a great loss. The Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna interest. Sin, there is no question of sanctification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. So that's our recreation, serving Krishna. But sometimes there are some service you like more. Like some may want to read Chaitanya Charitamrita or real Bhagavatamrita, or it's you can also do sometimes what you really like in Krishna, and that's your recreation. Nice. This is Bhakti Thakur. That was his schedule, how he lived. And that's interesting, at least that's my experience, but when I came to Krishna consciousness, to the movement, I had to learn everything again. How to take a bath, to go to the toilet, how to dress, so cleanliness, how to dress, dirty and so on. And then you have to learn how to eat, what to eat, and it becomes, you have to restart from zero, get out of these bad habits that you had before. And we had the example of this great soul. Till 7 to 8 p.m., he was taking rest in the morning. He was taking rest until 10 p.m. To 3 hours he was resting. Then he would get up and start his writings. In the night he was writing. Bhakti Thakur wrote so many books. Prabhupada also in the night was writing. And at 4 a.m. till 4:30, 30 minutes he would take rest, then rise, wash hands and face, and chant Hare Krishna mantra, japa, till 7. Then he would write letters. 7:30 he would read till 8:30, then he would receive a guest and continue to read. 9:30 till 9:45, 15 minutes was taking rest, and then was taking his morning bath, breakfast, half quarter of milk, a couple of chapatis and some fruits. What he was eating. And then he would go to the court in a carriage. He would wear a coat and pants to the court with double-sized tulsi neck beads and Vaishnava tilak. He was very strong in his decision. He would decide immediately. He did not allow any humbug in his court, no upstarts could stand before him. He would shave his head monthly. He never had any debts. Then 10 o'clock the court began, 1 p.m. court finished. He would go home and bath, refresh. 2 p.m. return to the court office, and then was working till 5 p.m. And then he was translating words from Sanskrit into Bengali. Then the evening bath, meal of rice, couple of chapatis, whole water of milk. So that is Bhakti schedule. So in the light of this knowledge, how can I improve my personal schedule? That's your own homework. Think about it. Text 18. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, the void of all material desires is said to be well established in yoga. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desires. Yes. And then how to control the mind is explained in the purport, the activities of Ambarish Maharaj, Savayamana Krishna Padara Vindano, for some speculum Pranana Karnane, you can hear it, how Ambarish Maharaj used his mind always to think of Krishna and to his words in glorifying Krishna and so on. And the second time this is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, we had it before also, that the senses and the mind require engagement. Simply abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind is described above is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in the Bhagavad Gita. So then, disciplining the mind. What does disciplining the mind mean? Does the mind direct my intelligence, or do I direct the mind with intelligence? Do I act as I feel? Just think about it. Yukta, the senses and the mind require engagement. Simply abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially for those who are in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind as described above is the perfect process for transcendental achievement. This is called yukta in Bhagavad. Then verse 19, as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation in the transcendental self. The Krishna conscious person remains always absorbed in transcendence, in constant, undisturbed meditation on the worshipful Lord, as steady as a lamp in a windless place. If we become advanced Krishna consciousness, we will achieve that. Do I perform service without distraction? That's mostly our problem with distraction. Now, if we have no distraction, we come into samadhi. I read the verse again. In the state of perfection called trance, samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material activities by the practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to listen and join himself. That's why I state, once is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized with transcendental sense, established that whenever the path from the truth and of gaining this, he thinks there is no great gain. Being situated in such position, one is never shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This is indeed actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So in that stage, one is in communion, in contact with the super soul through a transcendental mind and intelligence. At that time, the Lord Sit Shakti is knowledge, or this is realized knowledge. We get realized knowledge about the nature of who we really are. And by that, because we are situated in our spiritual body, in our spiritual identity, it's easy to become detached from sense objects. Because transcendental, one feels very transcendental from within. So this is 3 and 4. So there is also Srila speaks also about the monist. The monist, they don't accept the super soul. And by that they cannot feel this transcendental pleasure. So according to Srimad Bhagavatam, after nirvana, the sensation of material consciousness, that peaceful, There are spiritual activities. And there's devotional service. And a monist cannot get that position. But 24. One should engage myself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith. On 10 verse 3. Okay, verses. The make show yoga. If yogis are attracted by the byproducts of yoga, they cannot attain the stage of perfection. Persons, therefore, indulging in a make show practice of gymnastic feats or sitting, should know that the aim of yoga is lost in that way. 24. Yoga should be performed with enthusiasm, like the bird who attempted to dry up the ocean, which stole her eggs. So the little bird went to the ocean took away her eggs, and the little bird said, I will empty the ocean, I will empty you if you don't give back my eggs. And the little bird started to empty the ocean with little beak, little water. And she, by her determination, that she got the attention of Garuda. And Garuda came and said to the ocean, give back her eggs or I will help her. And then the ocean returned the egg. So that is the point, that we should have this determination. Krishna will help us. All senses by the mind, step by step, one will situate in trance. So one should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Soul. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna. The first action is to give up desires. The last action is not to take up anything at all. That's 20. Yeah. Verse 24. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, not with the will. One should abandon without exception all material desires, all of mental speculation, and thus control the strength. So when one engages in devotional service with determination and faith will attain success. The Lord helps those who help themselves. Yes.
We were talking about Paramatma, super soul which accompanies us in the material world. So I was asking whether Paramatma also exists with those who are in the spiritual side.
No.
Okay.
There we have Krishna directly. Paramatma comes with us when we came to this world. So we wanted to come here, and Krishna was so kind not to leave our side. Good. Thank you. Then we see each other again at 11. Hare Krishna. Right over.